Thanks for joining today. So I'm just checking the chat. So if you have any problems with the audio or the visual, let me know and I will try to fix it up. Okay. So today is going to be a 45-minute Vin-Yin class. You don't need any props. If you would like to use your towel or a blanket or a block, you can have that handy. Okay, and we're going to begin in child's pose. So just start to make your way to a wide-legged child's pose with your knees wide, hips back towards your heels. Okay, and just beginning to shake out those hips left, right, like you're kind of wagging your tail side to side. Stretch your arms forward. And so in this first half of the class, we're going to be heating up the body, building a bit of warmth, and then we'll wind down with our deep stretches. Start to breathe in and out through your nose. Filling up into your whole back body, the ribs, your lower back. And really sinking your hips down, melting your chest down when you exhale. Just taking 4 rounds of breath here. And when you have completed your 4 rounds of breath, begin to get really active through your fingers. So you're pressing down into the pads and the knuckles of your fingers and your hands. Pressing down into the palms. See if you can lift your elbows off the mat. So we're really using the strength of the arms and shoulders here. You can keep your hips low, keep your chest sinking, elbows, shoulders lifted, away from the mat. Okay, and then now we're just going to sit all the way up into our tabletop position, bringing your shoulders underneath, bringing your wrists underneath your shoulders, and then your knees underneath your hips. Keep spreading into the fingers and shift your weight forward over your wrists on the inhale. When you exhale, tuck the toes under and sit your hips back towards your heels. So we're just going to do this 3 more times. Inhale to come forward. Use your fingers as brakes to press away from the ground, and exhale to lean your weight back. So we're just feeling into the wrist joints before we place a bit more weight onto those hands. Sitting your hips all the way back on the exhale. 2 more rounds. Inhale, coming forward, pressing into the fingertips. Exhale to sit your weight back. One last time. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to sit your hips back. And then now, let's come into our downward facing dog. You can tuck your toes, lift the knees, and then lift your hips back and up. Keep pressing into your hands. Let's take 5 rounds of breath here. It might be your first down dog of the day. Shaking out the hips, walking out your dog by pressing your heels down 1 at a time. Stretching into your calves and your hamstrings. Okay, and then now, let's come forward into our plank. Bring your shoulders over your wrists, tuck your tailbone under. You can bring your feet a little further back. Try to come right up onto your tiptoes here. Squeeze your inside thighs together. Nice long line here, shooting from the back, heels, through the crown of your head. If this is too strong, feel free to drop your knees. Holding 1 full breath. Keep pressing the ground away with your hands. Inhale here. And then exhale, lift your hips back and up, downward facing dog. You can shake out the hips, shake out your feet. And you can always drop the knees down at any point if you need to rest. We're just going to do that one more time. So as we come forward, we're inhaling, finding that long line. When you exhale, keep pressing away from the ground with your hands. Squeeze your inside thighs, engaging the glutes, engaging your quads. Hold here for the inhale. Exhale to lift your hips back and up. Shake it out to catch your breath. Okay, and then this time, we're going to come forward again on the inhale. We're going to drop the knees. As we exhale, we're going to lower down about halfway. So I know this is your favorite transition. We're going to keep those elbows in towards your sides, like you're trying to squeeze your elbows towards your ribs. Try to keep that tuck of your tailbone, so still keeping that nice long line with your body. And finding a 90-degree angle here with the elbows. So lower down on the exhale. Now when you're about halfway, we're going to keep the chest hovering up. Press into your hands, inhale here. And exhale, lower down. Lying all the way down onto your belly. Press into the tops of your feet. Press down into your palms. Baby Cobra, elbows still squeezing in towards your sides. Float your chest. Draw the shoulders down away from your ears. Keep your gaze just forward to the top of your mat to keep your neck long and relaxed. Hold here for the inhale. And then exhale to lower down. Let's do that 2 times, 1 breath, 1 movement. So inhale to lift the chest. Keep those elbows squeezing in. Pressing to the tops of the feet, perhaps even lifting your hands to test that you're using your back strength here. Exhale to lower down. One more time, inhale, come up. Floating the chest, squeezing the elbows in. And exhale, coming down. Okay, now let's press into the palms, tuck your toes. Exhale, lift your hips back and up. Downward facing dog. Give your hips a shake, side to side, wagging your tail. Okay, and then on the next inhale, we're going to lift the right leg, 3-legged dog. Exhale to come forward into that plank, bringing your shoulders over your wrists. Squeeze your right knee in towards your chest, tiger curl. Let's hold here for 1 breath. Press into your hands. Squeeze the right knee in a little tighter towards your chest. Exhale here. Stay for the inhale. And then exhale to lightly step the right foot through between your hands. We're going to come into our lunge. So you can drop your back knee down at any point. You could keep the back leg lifted if you're feeling pretty strong. Just make sure the back leg doesn't kind of just hang out there. Keep it nice and active and strong. Pulling up through the kneecap, engaging your glutes, engaging your quads. We're pressing into the front foot, and you can bring your arms up overhead. Now check that you're not dumping here into your lower back. It's not a back bend. We want to keep those lower ribs in. Keep your tailbone tucking under. Keep the front thigh turning outwards. Inhale here. Exhale, sit your hips down a little lower. Inhale here. Exhale, drop your back heel down. Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. Let's bend into the front knee. Open your arms out to reaching your fingertips in opposite directions. And then we'll straighten the front leg on the inhale. Pull up through your kneecaps. Press into the feet. Reach your right hand forward on the inhale. And then exhale to tip forward, Trikanasana, triangle pose. Bringing the back of your right hand anywhere along your leg, perhaps just to the inside of your thigh or knee or ankle or calf. Remember that feeling of leaning back against a wall? Stack your hips, stack your shoulders. Gaze up or keep your gaze down. Really rooting down into the ball of that front foot, finding your balance here.
And then we'll inhale to come all the way back up, press into the feet, use the strength of your thighs. When we exhale, we're going to turn both feet out to the side. Bring your hands to prayer, goddess pose. Now you can bring your feet a little closer if this is really wide stance for you. Make sure that your feet are turning out. We're going to roll the thighs outwards, externally rotating into your hips. And if you feel like, again, this is really wide, keep bringing your feet a little closer. So when we sit the hips down, we can start to really feel that deep stretch into your hips, inside thighs and groins. Trying to draw your knees back so they're in line with your hip bones. Building that strength in your glutes, strength in your thighs. Hold here, inhale. Lifting the crown of the head, lengthening along the spine. Exhale to sit your hips a little lower. Hold here for the inhale. Exhale, sit the hips a little bit lower. Okay, now inhale here. On the next exhale now, let's turn our right foot forward. So we're going to come into the warrior two on the other side. See how now this left leg continues to open out. Right leg is straight, hips still facing the same direction, but we're going to reach the fingertips away again, sitting down into our warrior lunge. One full breath here. And then inhale here now to straighten your left leg, Trikanasana on this side. Pull up through your kneecaps, strengthen through the thighs. Reach the left hand forward and exhale to tip forward, bringing the back of your left hand to the inside of your thigh or your knee or your calf. Right arm extending up. Roll the top hip back, top shoulder back, top ribs back. One full breath. Stay here for the inhale. And then now, on the exhale, you can press down into the feet. Come back into your warrior two. So we're going to come back to the crescent lunge from here. We're just reversing the sequence the way that we came in. Bit of a mind trick here, see if you can remember what we did. Let's lift the back heel up, sweep your right arm up, crescent lunge. Feel that stretch into the right hip flexors this time. Ribs in, tailbone tucking under. Sit your hips down a little lower when you exhale. Full breath in. Full breath out, sitting the hips a little lower. Full breath in. And then exhale, bring your hands down. Okay, so we're finding that tiger curl on this side. Adjust your stance if you feel like you're really wide. We're going to come into that plank position with the hands. So you're pressing into your hands, squeezing the left knee in towards your chest. Hold one full breath, round into your upper back. Stay for the inhale. And exhale, let's kick that left leg all the way back, three-legged dog. And lower your left foot down. Shake it out. You can sigh out. Perhaps dropping your knees down and coming to your child's pose to rest for a moment. So again, perhaps this feels a little bit weird for you because we're facing in the different direction now. Take a few moments to shake out the hips, to let your body adjust. And once you have caught your breath, you can start to make your way back up. Just sit up for a moment into this kneeling position. And roll out your wrists, roll your shoulders back and down. You can give your head a bit of a shake side to side, tipping left and right. so today for our final challenge pose, we're going to be working on our crow pose, spending a little bit of time here today, or we can just prep for the crow. This is just our final vinyasa practice before we wind down. Okay, so crow, if you're familiar with it, feel free to go ahead and practice in whatever way you need to. Otherwise, we're going to set up with the hips quite high. Bring your feet closer. Your feet really quite close. Fingers are spread. Going to press down into your palms. Press down into your fingers. So try to remember what we did before with the tabletop position, with the plank, where we were using the fingertips as brakes. So you're pressing right down into the tips of the fingers to stop yourself from coming too far forward. That's the exact same feeling now in your crow. Hips are high, so that we can start to get the hips stacked over the shoulders. Bend your elbows. And then bring your knees as high up along your arms, your triceps as you can, finding a place where your knees aren't going to slide. Start to look forward. Begin to lean your weight forward, bringing more weight into your hands. Keep your gaze forward to the top of your mat. And maybe today you just work on this. Perhaps now you can start to lift one foot up. Perhaps you can begin to float your other foot up. Okay, and even if you can just lift the other foot up for a split second, it doesn't matter. Alright, so we've been working on this a little bit in class lately as well. If you have any questions while you're doing this, feel free to pop it into the chat. If this is too much for you today, you're feeling a bit tired, let's come into the squat instead, your malasana. So your feet are a little bit wider, about hip width. You're just sitting your hips down towards your heels. And you could keep your hands on the mat or bring your hands to prayer. And this is a good way to just prep your hips, open into the hips and the groins, pushing your knees away with your elbows. Okay, so just have a little play of the crow, stay in your squat, whatever you are ready for today. Just acknowledging that your body will change day to day. Perhaps today is not one of the days when you're practicing crow. That's okay. And even if you fall flat on your face, well, you're at home now, so no one can see. Just make sure you've got some nice cushioning so you don't bruise your face. And when you've have had enough of that, you can make your way out and just sit back onto your hips for a moment, giving your legs a good shake. You can shake out your hands, shake out your wrists, giving your wrists a bit of a roll. You can roll out the shoulders. And we're going to come into our first Yin Pose. So feel free to just grab your jacket or grab a blanket as our body cools down for the Yin poses. The first Yin pose is our glute stretch. A few options here. We're going to keep the left leg in front. You can either turn this right knee inwards in our zigzag shape with the legs, or you can come into your full pigeon pose by extending the right leg behind you. Okay, so it just depends what feels more comfortable. In Yin, this is called sleeping swan, not pigeon pose. And the slight difference is that you can roll onto this left hip. You can come to the inside of the right knee, whereas in pigeon, we usually want to keep our hips square. Okay, so take your time. Back leg can be bent. You could have it slightly straight behind you. Whichever position feels more comfortable for your hips and your glutes. But while we're here, we're going to add our shoulder stretch, our thread the needle. So you can bring your left arm through and lower your left shoulder, lower your left ear down to your mat. Either bringing your right hand underneath your head, you could fist that hand underneath your head, you could use a towel, use a cushion, use a block, or any other prop that you have.
And really taking your time to get comfortable into the Yin pose before you find stillness. Sending your breath to any tightness along your hips and your glutes. Along your left arm and shoulder. In this first Yin pose, we're often still catching our breath from the vinyasa practice. So try to make a more conscious effort to deepen your breaths, to lengthen the breaths out more so that you can slow down your heart rate a little bit more. We're just going to take 10 more breaths here. When you've completed the 10 breaths, feel free to continue staying longer, or you can reverse your path and gently push yourself back up. Remember, we want to be really slow and gentle coming out of these deep stretches. So roll over onto your left hip, and you can use your hands to help you swing your right leg back out in front of you. Bringing your right leg all the way out in front. Keep your left knee bent, left knee opening out to the side. So the next pose is a hamstring stretch. We're going to relax the head, chin to the chest. And with Yin, remember, we can relax our leg. So usually we want to keep this active, keep the spine nice and long and straight. But in Yin, we just want to use our body weight. Try to completely relax and soften into the pose. So you might even come up to the backs of your hands so your palms are facing up. So you're not pushing or pulling yourself down, just surrendering into the pose. Letting your upper body round forward. Feeling the stretch into the back of your neck, down along the top of your spine, along your lower back, stretching into the back of the right leg. Perhaps noticing that with each exhale, your body can become a little bit heavier. Melt a little bit further forward. And just 10 more breaths here. when you have completed those 10 breaths, you can once again slowly make your way back up. Perhaps bringing both legs out in front or both knees in towards chest, giving your ankles a few rolls, wriggling your toes, bringing some movement back into your legs. And then we'll come to that second side, starting with your sleeping swan or pigeon. So your right leg is in front this time. Remember your options here. You can keep the left knee just turning inwards, internally rotating this left hip. You could extend your left leg behind you, staying to the inside of that knee. And then getting comfortable, feeling that stretch into your right hip and your glutes as you start to lean forward. Let's add our thread the needle, bringing your right shoulder, right ear to the mat, or hand underneath your head, or block, or a cushion, or your towel underneath your head. And starting to settle into this stretch here, along your right shoulder and arm, across your upper back, along your lower back, into your right hip and glutes. Each deep breath allowing you to release and let go of any tension that you're holding in anywhere along your body. Full breaths. Remember, it's normal if your thoughts wander off as your body stills. And the practice is about continually bringing your focus back to this present moment, observing your breath, observing the state of your mind and your body as it is right now. You can stay longer than the 10 breaths, or you can make your way out of this pose by using your hands to gently push yourself back up. Rolling over onto your right hip this time, using your hands to help you bring the left leg out in front. Left leg straight, right knee still bent to the side. And we're finding that forward fold now, that hamstring stretch by relaxing the foot, relaxing your hands, relaxing your shoulders, letting the whole upper body surrender forward. No pushing, no pulling. Finding a balance between effort and ease. as we come deeper into these yin poses, you might feel quite uncomfortable, feel an urge to leave the pose, but see if you can just stay 10 more breaths. Breathe through the discomfort, counting down with the breaths. And then as soon as you have completed the 10 breaths, you might stay longer, or you could slowly sit back up, making your way back up. And this time you can bring the hands behind us, bring your legs back in, and allow your knees to just drop side to side to bring some movement back into both ankles and feet, into your thighs, into your hips, into your lower back. Okay, let's finish with the twist. Just shuffle forward and lie all the way down out onto your back. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Take a few rocks left and right here to massage across your back. Noticing the flatness of the ground underneath you after those forward folds. If you have a favorite twist that you usually like to practice, you can go ahead and do that option. Otherwise, we're keeping this really gentle, remembering that we are holding a little longer than usual. So you want to find a place where you're not exactly feeling your edge, where there's a little bit of pulling, but as the stretch goes, well, as we spend longer in the pose, the stretch will feel deeper. So you're kind of giving yourself a bit of range, a bit of space to deepen and soften into the pose. So you'll see that the knees are just together here. You can open your right arm out behind you, so your arms are open like a T with the palms facing up, and you're turning your head to look towards the opposite hand. If this is too much for your lower back, bring your knees further down, and this will just reduce the twist in your lower back. You can experiment with other placement of your feet or your knees as well. And then once you found a comfortable position, then you're just relaxing into it. Taking those deep breaths in and out through your nose. Letting your belly and lower back fill up like a balloon with each in-breath. So we're using the breath to expand into the places where we tend to store a lot of tension. And when you exhale, letting your lower back and your belly deflate and soften. And breaths. Once again, counting down your breaths. If you have completed the 10 breaths and you're ready to move on, you can make your way back to center, but there's absolutely no rush, so feel free to stay as long as you need here. To come out, you can press down into the feet, or you can just slowly bring one knee back to center, then bring your other knee back to center, perhaps shuffling your hips so that you can drop both knees over to the other side. Turning your head the other way again. Check in with the side. If you need to adjust the position of your knees, bring them higher or lower. Relax across your chest. Start to breathe into the tension on the side. You might even notice that one side feels tighter than the other. Taking 10 breaths. Each time you feel like you're going to drift off to sleep, gently bring that awareness back to your breath. So we're in this constant state of awareness, gentle awareness, without any judgment, without any criticism of our bodies, what it can do. Again, you can stay as long as you need. Some days you just need a little longer if you're holding a bit more tension than usual. But to come out, you can slowly bring your knees back to center once more. Hug those knees in. Take a few rocks side to side. Releasing your lower back. You could draw circles with your knees. Going in the opposite direction with the circles. And then finally, finishing in your Shavasana. Maybe a butterfly pose to open back into those hips. Stretching into the inside thighs, letting knees drop out. Perhaps you want to extend your legs along your mat. Hands can continue to rest on your belly. Continue to feel with your hands the rise and fall of your belly with each breath. So we're staying connected to the breath even in this final resting pose. It can be so easy to just switch off, but keeping your focus here. Notice how your body feels here now, right now in this moment. Maybe observing that it feels slightly different to when you first arrived at the practice today. Begin to deepen your breaths. Letting your belly really rise up and press into your fingertips. And then letting your belly fall away from your fingertips. Bring some movement back into your fingers, your wrists. You can stretch your arms up like you've just woken up from a nap. Extend your legs, your fingers, your toes are reaching in opposite directions. And then hug your knees in towards your chest. Roll over onto one side, curling up here for a moment. You can bring that bottom arm underneath your head like a pillow. Only when you feel ready, push yourself back up to a seated position. Try to keep your eyes closed. Bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart center. Let's close our practice with a final breath together. Taking a deep breath in through your nose to fill up into your whole body. And with a big sigh, feel any last bits of tension drift away. Namaste. Thank you so much for tuning in to the class today. So I might be doing a few more lives throughout this lockdown. If you have any preferences for days, for times, let me know. Just send me a message or leave it in the comment below. See you next time.